being a female brewer only does add a little bit of what I like to think of as advantages. So you can see our breweries are very welcoming. We have wallpaper on the wall. We have pretty glassware.
Yeah.
We have just little touches and stuff. So I think that's where it really shines through with having that female influence, just to add another layer to the environment there.
Welcome to Why Am I Talking, a podcast where the guests are so good, you'll wonder why the host is even talking. In each episode, you will hear one of the leaders of the Lehigh Valley's vibrant business hub. They will tell you the keys to their success, the mistakes they've made, and what they have in store for the future. Here is the host of Why Am I Talking, from YMI Insurance, Jimmy Honachik.
All right, that is me. I am Jimmy Honachik, and I am here with what is going to be a fantastic episode. I could not be more excited. We have Caitlin McCall from McCall Brewing Company, one of my favorite places in the Lehigh Valley. It's incredible. They do awesome things, and I'm really happy that you made the time to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. This is my honor. You don't have to thank me. This is going to be great. So tell me, McCall, tell me about sort of the inspiration, what makes it different. I mean, let's start with, kind of what it is.
So, McCall is a brewery, right?
Good start.
But, we're even more than that. So we do have a 7-barrel brew house system that we make all of our beer, and then we serve it at our 2 locations. So we have one in South Allentown there, and then we have one out in Brightingsville, like right past Chexertown. We have food at both of those locations. We have a full kitchen menu, full kitchen staff. We're open 7 days a week. We also offer local wine and spirits, so you can kind of get everything there. So a little bit more than just beer, considering we have all of those other things, and definitely a homey restaurant feel.
The food's fantastic. Like, I've only been to the Allentown location, so I can only speak to that. But the food's incredible. Like, what are you doing behind the scenes to make sure that's as good as the beer is?
It's awesome. So, couple things: freshness, consistency. Those are all important in both beer and food. And we try to locally source as much as we can. So our burgers, have you had a smash burger?
Yes.
So we get a custom blend from the local butcher. And that's how we get the most delicious burgers. We also pick up pickles from the Allentown Farmers Market and other things like that. So we try to keep everything locally sourced. And I think that just adds an element of freshness. And I don't know, I think it makes it even more delicious.
It does. And so where does that local, that local energy, that local passion come from? How did you get, decide that's the way you wanted to go?
Well, I think that was kind of the way I grew up. So my parents were always involved in coaching all the sports I played and running activities that I was a part of and being a part of the school. And that sense of community is just really big, and it's really been a part of me. So I think that being a part of the community here, locally sourcing, and even we try to partner with different organizations and do fundraising and be hopefully an influence in the Lehigh Valley where we can give back and contribute. I think, you're just part of your community, and you got to give and take, and everybody's got to work together.
Yeah, I say all the time, we can only do as well as the community around us.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our inspiration too, and we try to do that. And actually, I don't know if you remember, but the first time I met you was at a chamber event.
Yeah.
Opening up the waterfront. And so I was there and you were there. And so, like, you guys are involved in the chamber. I mean, talk to me about what aspects of the community you guys are involved in.
Well, I think comes to mind, we are doing the She Nailed It event.
Okay.
And that is a giant event for Habitat for Humanities. Have you heard of it?
No.
Yeah. So you have a team of 4 women, and there's a whole lot of teams. There's probably, I would say, maybe between 80 and 100 teams that show up. And you have to pass a hammer and hammer nails into a board.
Okay.
And your whole team, and you get timed.
Wow.
And they do a fantastic job executing this event. And you win bedazzled like hammers, and everyone takes such pride in it. So we'll do fundraising at the brewery for it, and we'll have a team, and we'll spend the whole day there, and we'll hammer our nails into the board and hope to win. This will be our 3rd year. We've not won yet, but
Go ahead.
we did qualify to the 2nd round one time.
So you're there for the charity, it sounds like.
Yeah, right. And then even, when we brewed our first beer with the help of Hijinks, because our brew equipment wasn't quite set up yet, we sold that in crowlers, the 32-ounce cans. And all those proceeds went to one of three organizations. And you, as the purchaser, got to decide. So we did the Allentown YMCA, we did Nominee for Mental Health, and then we did Turning Point for Domestic Abuse. So our very first beer was put out there as a sole fundraiser. We wanted to introduce ourselves. We wanted to make an impact. Of course, this was during COVID. So we decided to pick three organizations that really gave back to the community during that time. And, that's just how we kicked things off. So now, we continue to I unfortunately say yes to everybody's raffle baskets for us and everything.
Yeah.
But, there's just so many sports programs for youth and reading programs, and actually, a new one for us is She. So they're in Bethlehem right now, and they go to middle schools, and it's fourth through eighth grade. So a little bit of elementary schools too. And they work to empower women. So they give them confidence. They give them self-esteem. They give them tools they need to make good decisions so that they continue to have a positive influence and develop in a positive way. So we're doing a fundraiser for them. So I think that's a really, important message as well. I'm going to go to those middle schools and elementary schools and talk about, being a woman who owns a business and things like that. And hopefully, as a community, we continue to make impacts and help these young women understand that there is, unlimited possibilities out there, and that making positive decisions and believing in yourself is super important at this age.
And I was going to say, that's the age, right? I know I have a daughter, and from everything I've read, confidence is great up until about that age. And then I don't know what it is, but being out there and reinforcing that message has to be a positive thing for them. So where did you get the idea to start being involved there?
They reached out.
Okay.
Yeah. So the She program reached out, and we met, and we went over just what they did and how I can help. And we're going to do a dine and donate, and I'm going to get involved with speaking to the women and the young women, and hopefully everything goes well. We'll see. This is a new partnership for me.
That's great. And speaking to you, being a female business owner, how has that experience been? To me, I feel like, and I could be wrong here, but the brewery industry is probably pretty male dominated. Is that a right assessment? And then how has it been, breaking in as a woman?
So that is a right assessment. I will say, though, that we continue to see changes.
Yeah.
There's now a few other women who are involved within the ownership in it. There's also female brewers. So it's really cool to see the impact. What's really awesome about the Lehigh Valley is that we have the Lehigh Valley Brewers Guild, and we're a tight-knit group. And it's awesome to partner together and work together and support each other. So there are challenges, but most of the time, everything is, everyone is very supportive of each other no matter what. So sometimes, it's kind of, I have to put on my brave face, being a female, showing up to, other breweries outside the area and stuff like that. But I've never encountered an issue. I do think, though, being a female brewer does add a little bit of what I like to think of as advantages. So you can see our breweries are very welcoming. We have wallpaper on the wall. We have pretty glassware. Yeah. We have just little touches and stuff. So I think that's where it really shines through with having that female influence, just to add another layer to the environment there.
Yeah, it's more of an experience that way. It's less about, just the beer. It's about the entire being there.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we go for. We want to be kind of there for everybody, whether you're new to beer or you're a beer connoisseur. We have quality beers. We have friendly staff, good environment. And then, of course, as we mentioned, we have great food and fresh made cocktails and local delicious wine. So it's kind of something for everybody.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the opening a business is a scary endeavor on its own, right? And opening a business that's very much an in-person business, right? We're just talking about the experience in the middle of COVID. How was that experience? How did you get through it? What did you learn from that?
Wow, it was a very challenging experience. So I have opened up, grand opened different retail businesses in the past. It's nothing when it's all you and your own.
Yeah, yeah.
With them, they have your countdowns. They have everybody coming in. At this point, it was me. So to start from the beginning, we had finally got everything in line to start construction, and that day, the whole state shut down. So we had to wait a couple months in order to start construction. So that was, kind of a little uncomfortable, but luckily we did okay.
Had you quit your previous job at this point?
I did, yeah. I quit my previous job a couple months before because we had to get everything in order. We were serious, so
Yeah.
it was time to quit the job, and that was a big step.
Yeah, sure.
We kept waiting for setbacks. We kept waiting for someone to say no. We kept waiting for the bank to say no. We kept waiting for the city to say no, and everybody just said, "Okay, here you go. You got to do this." We would do it. They say, "Okay," and everything just kept happening. We're like, "Okay, yeah, this is really real." So COVID was probably our biggest setback. But we were able to then start construction 6 weeks later, and I ended up having to be a GC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. The way
We already
that
know you can hammer in nails, so you've got that going.
we also know I have not won. But yeah, the way that we were partnering with our construction company, I ended up taking on a lot of the organization behind it. I would have contractors being like, "How do you know so much about this?" And I said, "I don't. How do you know so little? What are we doing?" It was interesting. I'm like making up how to like measure out stuff for lighting. It was weird. I was there all the time. It was cold. It was quite an intense process. So then we opened in August of 2020, and we opened at 50% capacity, which honestly, silver lining, we got to know our customers so well because we could only have so many of them in there.
Right.
And we just really built like a good, strong, regular customer base that still we see this day. And actually, the reason why we have food is because of COVID. So we weren't sure if we were going to open with a kitchen. It existed, but there was no equipment in it. And we were like, okay, let's see. But then they made it that you had to eat something in order to have a drink.
Yeah.
And we were going to do something simple. And I woke up the one morning and I said, if we're going to do food, we're going to do it right.
Yeah.
So we started doing kitchen manager interviews. And we found Anthony, who's still our kitchen manager to this day. And so we did good food. I remember there's a story I have about crying over French fries. Anthony came in to do a trial cooking for us. Like, we're like, okay, we should probably make sure this guy can actually cook. And so we had to get the kitchen set up, and that was a whole thing. And he then served us the food, and I took a bite of a French fry, and I cried and said, "We're going to have good French fries." So that was really impactful. And so we ran at 50% capacity. And then we had to shut down from Thanksgiving through New Year's Eve. And that was not ideal. That was tough. We had 3 tables outside. We pushed to go business. I did start a raffle for anyone who came in and bought stuff that we still do this day.
Okay.
Awesome prizes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fun one. So that kind of got born from there. And then the first time we were able to sit at our bar was the day after Easter of 2021. And we had a line of regulars out the door waiting for us to open so they could sit at our bar for the first time.
How cool is that?
It was so special.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we really made the most of everything we could. And as you can, hear me talk about, we really got our identity based off of it. So I have no idea what McCall Collective would be like if it wasn't for the pandemic shaping all of our decisions.
That's really cool.
Yeah, we were lucky that everything was just a business plan. So all we had to do was adjust that plan and execute differently, where I think some businesses had to modify what they had been doing for years.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really shaped and developed us. And, we got a canning line because that was important and that wasn't in the original plan. And we have to go beer all the time since. So, yeah, it's, I guess silver lining for us. And, we just keep learning and growing to this day. I mean, there's always something that's making us change how we have to do it.
Were you able to hit your numbers? So you have to do 50% capacity, and I'm sure you had, built-in projections of where you wanted to be. Were you able to achieve those numbers?
So a little bit different. So because we opened at 50% capacity, we could staff a little bit more accordingly instead of having employees that we didn't have enough hours for because of it. We hired based off of that number. And also that's when myself and my husband would work serving tables a bunch. And so that kind of helped control costs, but no, it's not possible to hit numbers. So what we had to do was put in for a grant.
Okay.
And fill out the forms, and we had to get funds to kind of cover that base, which super great that the, government put that together, that we were able to then not lose our business because, if you can't make money, you can't pay the bills. And with being brand new, they exist.
Yeah. Well, the reason I asked that is you then opened a second location. So there must have been enough success at that first one to lead you to think you could do this again somewhere else.
Yeah. So there's a couple points to be made there. So one is, have you heard of Rising Tide?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they gave us a loan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they're great people, and they keep the money local here in the Lehigh Valley, and they like to help businesses that are up and coming and ones they believe in. So the Rising Tide is awesome. So they gave us a loan, and we were able to improve some things at our Susquehanna location. And then we were able to get things started for our Hamilton Boulevard location. The other part is we were making beer, right? So by opening a second location, we have another venue to serve this beer out of.
Yeah.
And we essentially weren't hiring any more brewers. Our kitchen manager runs both kitchens. Now, we did need some more kitchen staff and things like that, but the overhead made sense.
Yeah.
And every year we continue to see the tap house getting busier and busier, which is really great. We didn't really advertise it very well in the beginning because you know how that is. You got to figure out the perfect cost effectiveness of it. And we decided to not try. So now that we're out there, as you know, now we have it. So people are learning about us, and we're getting busier, and we keep investing into the outside area there.
I was going to say, describe the tap house, because I've been to the Susquehanna and it's great, but the tap house, I feel like, is a whole different, experience.
It really is. So, I mean, you're still getting the same product, the same quality, the same, amazing employee experience. But it is a completely different vibe. It is definitely a little bit more tavern-like, where at Susquehanna you have servers. At the tap house, you order all your food and drinks at the bar.
Okay.
It's a little bit smaller, a little bit more of that bar feel, a little bit more casual. And then we have an outside area. So the outside area can fit about 70 people.
Yeah.
And you kind of can just come and go as you like between ordering food and drinks. So yeah, a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more typical brewery feel when it comes to that. We did start with a barbecue menu, but now we have a full food truck that we keep on site.
Yeah.
So we do wraps and cheesesteaks and fries and wings. The smash burgers are there too.
Good.
Yeah. So it's, you like both of them, right? But they're not the same.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess my question to you is why, right? Like you had an incredibly successful career beforehand. I would say, you're a high achiever, doing lots of cool things that we'll probably get into if we have time. Why, abandon all of that to start a brewery?
Well, I think it came down to wanting my own place, right? So everything else I was doing was for someone else, which is great. I mean, the security behind it, health benefits are awesome.
Yeah, so
miss those things. But I always wanted my own business. My husband always wanted his own business. And as we, grew up in our ages, it kind of changes. When we were younger, we wanted a bar, and then we wanted to open a premium tailgating spot in the Lehigh Valley.
Like that.
Yeah. Oh, we had it all planned out.
Yeah.
You could rent TV area and play yard games and
Get out.
oh yeah.
Is that still in the back of your head?
No. But if somebody wants to bring it to fruition,
yes.
it's called tailgates, and please make it happen. But then, breweries started becoming more relevant. I've been drinking craft beer since 2007. But it wasn't craft beer then, it was good beer.
Right. Yeah.
And we started vacationing around breweries, and my brother-in-law, who is our head brewer, he started with a homebrew kit, and then he started doing production with Sam Adams over in Fogelsville.
Yeah.
And then he worked his way up there, and he was the head brewer of Coney Island out in Brooklyn, which is owned by Boston Beer Company.
Yeah.
So, he was getting commercial brewing experience, and Chris and I had been working for, lots of other, organizations, corporate run, that we thought we could use all of our skill sets, and we could open up our own place. So we said to Matt, you want to do this? You want to come brew for us? And he said, yes. And like I said, so then, we had to do a non-compete with Sam Adams, and they were great. We had to get an architect, we had to get loans, and everything just kept moving. We found a spot, which was really tricky for a brewery. You have to check off a lot of boxes. You need public sewer, public water, you need zoning, which is a hard one.
Yeah.
And we found a spot, and it was a good price. And then we found this, and everything just kept moving. But I always liked the concept of a brewery. I always liked the laid back atmosphere. We're super family friendly because, we're not a bar, we're not a restaurant. So you get to have that relaxed feel. And that's why people bring their kids out, because they want to enjoy just a nice beverage. You're not drinking craft beer another reason than you like the taste of it. You're trying to. And so I just really appreciated all those aspects. And that's what I wanted to, bring here into the Valley and be a part of my family and be a part of, my business world.
Yeah. And how important is the Valley to all of that? I mean, you're from the area originally. How have you found, coming back home and being a part of this area?
Oh, I love it so much. I think we're the best area. I mean, you have Philadelphia just over an hour that way. You have New York City just over an hour that way. You have PP&L Center. You have Coca-Cola Park. We have our beer, our Hidden Dingers Raspberry at Coca-Cola Park.
Oh,
the Iron Pigs.
Okay.
Yeah. So, it's super awesome. And it's this red colored beer, and, people love drinking it and matches their uniforms. And, we're excited to be a part of that. And, the Coca-Cola Park has that family orientation.
It's the best.
And you can afford to go.
Absolutely.
The parking, the tickets. And also, we've been partnering with the Lehigh Valley Zoo. We did a beer for them for their Winter Light Spectacular.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. So, we really are a part of the community. And I think that we have the best community. We're so lucky to have, the Easton markets and the Allentown markets and, everything over in Emmaus and Macungie. It's just, it's a really great place to live. And, you and I talked about earlier how it's important to us to be a part of the community and to give back. And it's awesome to see how great everybody is and how they all work together. So yeah, I'm very happy that I ended up here for sure.
It definitely is. I mean, and with the kids, I know you have 2 daughters. Like, it's a great place to raise kids too. There's so much to do here and to keep them busy.
Yeah, the schools are great. There's so many. I mean, you have the Da Vinci Science Center, right? And there's so much stuff going on.
Yeah. And you were talking about, the general community, but you also previously mentioned the Brewers Guild. I've heard that brought up a couple of times, and it seems like that collective is truly like a group of people who really care about each other and have each other's interests at heart. Is that the right idea? I mean, we have a lot of people from different industries who come in here, and it's not always that way. But anytime you have a
Right.
brewery, it sounds like it really is a great place.
I always say that we're so lucky to be in this industry. One is because the customers are the best ever. Craft beer customers are amazing.
Yeah.
They are just friendly, laid back. They want to chat. It's really great. And the other part is the other breweries. That community is very supportive of each other. We're tight knit. We get together every month. We work on ideas to keep the guild growing. We work on ideas to support each other. It's really special to be able to have that community connection beyond just your local friends. You have now all over the valley like interest people coming together. So it's definitely unique, I think, for some industries. But yeah, the brew industry is very close and supportive, and we all want to work together and make the Lehigh Valley a great spot to come and drink craft beer.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to hit on, I see we're bumping up against time, is your background. It is, like I said, you were, very high achieving, and you did a bunch of, I would call them unique and kind of diverse roles. So I'm curious if you could give us, a quick walkthrough of that, and then how you feel that, shaped your ability to open up your own brewery.
Yeah, well, you know what? They go hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So I worked for Best Buy, and that's where I learned how to manage a P&L, right? I learned how to staff accordingly. I learned how to monitor what was coming in and going out, right? Your basic P&L things. And then I went and I was a store manager for Starbucks. So I ran one in Manhattan. When I took over that store, there hadn't been a store manager in place in 3 months. So my first month was firing people for stealing.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I learned how to be tough.
Right.
And I learned how to deal with customers that weren't well behaved.
Yes.
And, in New York, you have to kind of put on a different face. And I learned how to be strong.
Managing a Starbucks, I feel like you have to be strong. Managing a Starbucks in Manhattan, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. You have your roles and your positions. Even now at the tap house, when we have a line, I'm like, we're working the line. You get orders here and you start pouring beer here. And because you've seen Starbucks, they're efficient.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we have numbers you had to hit, how many people you get through in those main 2 hours. And we'd print them out and try to improve every day.
Yeah.
You know how it is, corporate. And then, I went into advertising. And so that is when I learned just kind of what works out there and how to communicate to the masses, which, to this day, we still are trying to, use that to drive business. And I went into the nonprofit world where I learned even more about giving back to community and being a part and what it means to make an impact for those people who need it. So, all of those things really helped me to manage a team and know how important they are to the business, manage inventory and schedules and I don't know, all of it.
Yeah.
Hours and social media and stuff. So, I get to say that everything I had, I just kept adding tools into my tool belt.
Yeah.
And so here we are, and I get to take all that experience and I get to apply it. What is in my favorite way is the way I want to.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that that's nice. And I try really hard to give my employees the best schedule that they want. And if you request off, it's approved.
Yeah.
And because of that, they all continuously work together to cover each other and be there for each other. And I think we just created such a great environment.
Yeah. Well, let's go there real quick. I mean, culture, how important is that to you? How have you been able to, kind of nurture it to where you want it to be?
Yeah. So I think it starts with, strong building blocks, right? You got to make sure that the first level is strong. So you have myself, you have my brother-in-law and my husband, who from the beginning was putting in 12-hour days and making sure we were there. And then past that, you have the level of respect that you're showing and asking for back. And then, I would have to say that the culture is incredibly important. I always tell someone when you walk into a place, you can feel it, right?
Mhm.
You can feel if a place isn't cleaned properly,
Yeah.
right? Like I would always make sure my Starbucks has had the cleanest fronts because if you walked in and it was just kind of dirty in that first minute, you think everything else is dirty
Yeah.
as well, right? Like your kitchen could be spectacular, but you know, if where you're sitting is dirty.
Yeah.
So, you know, that culture kind of goes greater than just the employee experience, which I think is, you know, something we take a lot of pride in, and our customer service shows for that. But then, you know, we all take pride in the building and we all take pride in our product. And that's a big part of the culture too.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. So we are bumping up against time. I want to do a quick segment. We are sponsored by Hocus Pocus Cleaning Services. I don't know if you're aware of them, but locally female-owned, Rose Salvaggio is incredible. They do home, they do commercial. And so their name's Hocus Pocus, and they do the switching hour where they come, they rearrange and clean out your closets and do all of that. So I have to ask you, if you could have any magical power, what would it be? It's tough. I know. I asked you all the easy questions before, but it builds
Right.
into this.
Is it bad to want to read minds?
No.
That's what I'm thinking of.
That's
So, right. I feel like, you know, you could just guarantee happiness.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
you could read minds. But I'm sure you as the mind reader would probably kind of get a little overwhelmed.
But you're right. I mean, to the extent that like I'm a big believer in open communication. Like if I don't know what you're thinking, I can't help you. We can't get to the right place together.
You sound like my husband.
Sounds like a good guy. And so that would be one way of getting it. But you're right. It
Yeah.
might get overwhelming at some point.
What's yours? What would you pick?
I said time travel, like the ability to go back and forth would be really cool.
That's way too scary. You don't know where you're going to end up.
I'm not going too far forward. So,
Ooh.
all right. So anything that we didn't hit, I do know, there's Beer Week coming up, right?
Yeah. So Beer Week, May 4th to May 11th, we brew, the Lehigh Valley Brewers Guild, we do a guilty pleasure beer. So that'll be at all of our locations. You can get to go, you can get pints of it. And then we all do lots of different fun activities throughout the week. So I'll do a low country boil, which is the sausage and the shrimp and the potatoes and corn. We'll do craft nights. We do triple trivia. So you get to earn even more dollars in the gift cards to McCall's. And we've done cheesesteak flights before. That was our biggest hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to scramble to find more meat, and it was nuts. So I put together a whole list of activities for the week. So you should definitely check them out.
Where can we check them out?
You could go to our Facebook page, McCallCollectiveBrewing.com, or Instagram, McCall Co Beer. Our website will also have it too, McCallCollectiveBrewing.com.
Awesome. Anything else you wanted to hit before we wrap this up?
No, I mean, I think that's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This has been great. And I hope everyone gets out there and checks out McCall Brewing Company.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Why Am I Talking podcast. If you enjoyed this and want to hear more content from amazing personalities in the Valley, please subscribe, leave a rating, and drop us a quick review.